team will advance to the main event. So a lot on the line. We are still in our upper bracket at the moment. This is only day 2 of play for EPICENTER. So the winner of this match is going to be facing off against Fnatic in the next round. And the loser is going to be dropped down to the lower bracket where I think they might be awaiting their opponent. I'm not actually 100% sure on the lower bracket situation right now. But we've already got pretty deep into the draft, so let's do it. We got Elena and a Legion Commander banned out by Faceless. We've got GeekFam getting rid of Magnus and Nyx Assassin. A little bit interesting to me that we'll see less prioritization on the position 4 heroes than we have out of some of the other matches in SCA and China recently. Lots of tree bans, Monkey King bans, even quite a few Earth Spirit bans in all of the games that I covered yesterday. So we'll see. Could end up being an option maybe for GeekFam. I do believe that they play it. Yeah, it is actually, in fact, their most played hero in the last 3 months. 38 games, 61% or so win rate. Pretty respectable. But they've got the Crystal Maiden already, and Faceless just going to go straight for their Timbersaw here. Looking like they maybe have some kind of a premeditated strat lined up. The Treant Protector definitely pretty decent with the Timbersaw. Can be a little bit annoying with Timber chopping down all of your trees, but the Living Armor is going to make the Timbersaw even more unkillable than he usually is. And GeekFam, alright, their immediate answer is going to be picking up the Ursa. Faceless, I mean, it is going to be annoying for the Timber if he's in the off lane, but they might have the Treant Protector there to put on some pressure to try and alleviate the situation somewhat. And I feel like because they've still got plenty of the draft left to go, they should be able to pick up some decent answers to this Ursa as we move a little bit further in. So it shouldn't be too much of a problem, though this Ursa has been pretty strong recently. We saw Fnatic prioritizing it a lot in their series. Well, they've been prioritizing it a lot recently, and we saw Clutch Gamers banning it out all 3 games that they played against them. So the hero is trending a little bit right now. We do get a Tinker ban. It is pretty annoying for the Timbersaw to play against. He's not great against all the nukes, so
5 seconds remaining.
Probably good to get rid of it, especially given that they're likely to go for some kind of right-click hero for their mid lane or their safe lane. What else is in the pool right now? We do have a Templar Assassin also still in there. Warlock, yeah, also popular. I feel like Warlock isn't necessarily flying under the radar. It's just a hero that everybody's been playing for a while now, so there isn't as much, it's not like, oh wow, they got the Warlock, what an amazing Warlock game it is. He's just kind of always solid and bolsters your team fight by a lot. And at the moment, both teams have a little bit of team fight with their supports, but not really all that much. Treant Protector is a little bit of setup, but the follow-up isn't necessarily there just yet, other than the Timbersaw jumping through. And Crystal Maiden, well, she's kind of got some follow-up, but not really a whole lot of setup on the GeekFam side just yet. So not really committed to all-out team fight. And I think the one thing that GeekFam are going to have to be careful of is that this Timbersaw is actually a phenomenal split pusher. He's one of the, I'd say probably one of the few split push off lanes that kind of still get played right now. Of course, he can get played in multiple different lanes as well. Could be mid. I'm not even 100% sure where this is going to be run. For some reason, I saw it and immediately thought, oh, it's the Ice Timber. But wait, is Ice even here? Is this a stand-in? We got Jabs Black, XY Nuts, and then stand-in dot question mark.
Disruptor.
I guess we'll wait until I get in the game and I can actually click on his profile and see what's going on. Maybe I can just Google it. Check out the old Ice Dota buff. Nope, looks like it's not him. So
10 seconds remaining.
Alright, Faceless potentially playing with a stand-in, which could hurt them a little bit. I mean, they do have they're very much favored as far as this matchup goes. I think they've got like it's something like 80-20 on Gosu bets right now, depending on how much stock you put in that. So Faceless, definitely they've been doing very, very well as a team since their inception at home in Southeast Asia. I think they're ranked number 2 right now as far as the Gosu Gamers rankings. Again, it depends on how much stock you put in the Gosu Gamers rankings, but winning all of these qualifiers and then getting to the major events and not necessarily impressing that much. But I feel like definitely one of the favorites for this qualifier, as GeekFam just going to pick up a Slardar as their position 4. Certainly good with the Ursa. They have absolutely insane Roshan potential right now. Faceless have gone for the Disruptor, so they do get some follow-up to go with the Treant Protector. Gives them a little bit of lockdown potentially against the Ursa. The silence is pretty handy, though the Ursa is definitely going to be eyeing up a BKB this game just to get through the... avoid the Timbersaw damage, you know, escape the Overgrowth, not have to worry about the Static Storm kinetic field. And for Faceless, they are going to grab the Terrorblade. So they do get some building damage. GeekFam going to fire right back with a Shadow Fiend, definitely utilizing the Slardar ultimate very nicely, and the Shadow Fiend ultimate actually amazing against the Terrorblade. Even if you're not really close enough to do a bunch of damage and clear out the illusions, that's kind of what your raises are there for. The SF ultimate is just so hard for Terrorblade to deal with as a pretty much only stat-based hero. You're only buying kind of plus agi items, so that damage reduction on the Requiem of Souls is actually very difficult for Terrorblade to deal with. So I do like this GeekFam pick quite a bit. He's also, the Shadow Fiend looking like he's going to be pretty safe. The Treant Protector and the Disruptor shouldn't be able to roam on him too much, so the only potential vulnerability here is the mid lane matchup, though a lot of the heroes that Shadow Fiend struggles against have already kind of been banned out. The Lena's being removed, Tinker being banned, so I think a nice opportunistic pick from GeekFam here. We do get an Omni Knight ban. We've been seeing a decent amount of this Omni Knight offlane. You know, we saw that game yesterday from Mineski, where they ran the Ven, Shadow Fiend, Omni as the Tricore. We even saw, who was it? Happy Feet ran an OD Omni, so Omni definitely being pretty popular recently. And all right, we get an Underlord pick. I haven't seen this hero in a very long time, but he is also very difficult for the Terrorblade to play against, and the TB is the only person looking to hit buildings right now on the Faceless side. So if they counter him, all of a sudden this Faceless lineup looks pretty slow, and in a lot of ways, you know, that could just be their game plan completely stopped if between the Underlord and the Shadow Fiend. They've got loads and loads of AoE magical damage now to clear illusions. They've got the combination of the Atrophy Aura for damage reduction and the Requiem of Souls for damage reduction. So even without that much plus armor, even though I think they will probably buy a Solar Crest somewhere, and the Underlord can very easily pick up a mech and whatnot. But even without having all that plus armor, you know, they do have damage reduction in spades to deal with the Terrorblade. So we'll see what Faceless are going to be able to do about that. I think they should still be able to take some towers here and there, but once GeekFam start getting their farm up, once Asado gets his Blink Dagger, I do worry for them a little bit. It does mean that pretty much the only initiator for GeekFam is the Slardar, so he's going to have to be careful about how he jumps in here. It could end up happening that GeekFam just don't get the opportunities to take a structured team fight, because Faceless have gone for this puck as the final grab, so they could potentially be the ones getting the jump, and then if they burst down the Shadow Fiend or the Underlord early on in the fight, then all of a sudden they're going to pave the way for the Terrorblade to really do his job. So
10 seconds remaining.
Some interesting stuff going on.
5 seconds remaining.
Okay, so everybody in chat seems to think the stand-in is Ice. He's always stand-in? Okay, we'll just see. Once we get in the game, I'll check the Steam profile really quickly, and it should be obvious one way or the other if it is in fact Ice. I'm just gonna get through. Just gotta wait here for a second. We are starting a little bit late here, unfortunately, but it's C, so game shouldn't be too long, hopefully. We do have another series to get through. God, there's a lot of preamble to these games now. I just want to watch the Dota. All right, we're in. So, over on Faceless, it's going to be XY on Treant Protector, Jabs on Puck, Black on the Terrorblade, and Nuts on the Disruptor. Meanwhile, we have Well, let's check who this is. They've got a very high battle pass level, that's for damn sure. Is it just Ice Ice Ice? I don't know. I'm gonna work off the assumption that it is Ice Ice Ice, and I'll keep an eye on the chat just in case anybody wants to correct me. But he is playing Timbersaw, so does he have? Oh yeah, check it out. That's one easy way to tell that it's Ice Ice Ice. He's got the self-made Ice 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 set. So there you go. All right, definitely Ice 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 on the Timbersaw. Meanwhile, for GeekFam, we've got Raji on Slardar, 10-10-10 on the Crystal Maiden, Psionics on the Ursa, Tihi's going to be on the Shadow Fiend, and that leaves Velo as the Underlord in the offlane. This set is sick. Have not seen this one before, but I also haven't seen a whole lot of Underlord recently either. Since the Atrophy Aura nerf, he hasn't really been very popular, but should be able to put some pressure on the bottom lane with the help from the Slardar, who has already taken some damage from something. Looks like I don't even know what happened. Anyway, we did have an early D ward down here at bottom. It looks like the Underlord already has 1 CS, so looks like that was probably the other observer getting dealt with. Bit of interesting vision up here on top for the Radiant. Doesn't really provide that much, but it is just outside of tower range, so they're going to see what's going on up here. And looks like XY is going to be contesting this lane, as Faceless are actually looking to dodge or looking to go aggro here. I guess that keeps the... Yep, so that means that they force the 1v1 matchup, Timbersaw versus Underlord. And they're actually going to scout the Slardar over here in the trees. Can they block him out? They've got the vision and they've got the damage from the Terrorblade. I don't know if Raji's going to survive. They do get a nice Frostbite. Ursa now also coming in. One last touch is not going to be enough. He was tangoing up, but Black manages to force Psionics back. Unfortunate for Faceless that they couldn't get that first blood, but still getting off to a pretty good start here in the lane. Sending the Slardar packing pretty much immediately, and they're getting a very, very good 1v1 matchup down bottom with the Timbersaw versus the Underlord. This is not a matchup that the Underlord enjoys playing. He can do okay, and it is actually a decent hero to have against the Timbersaw as the game goes on, just because of how annoying Pit of Malice is for Timber to play against. But for now, it looks like we're just going to be focusing on the top lane. Mid lane actually going very well for Jabs, as he is giving Tihi a hell of a time. 6-1 versus the Shadow Fiend's 4-0. He's taking some damage, but giving as good as he gets right now. Alright. Bottom, yep. Velo just getting chunked down by the Whirling Death. And again, doing okay on CS to start with. He does have his Shrine to work with too, so all of that's going to help mitigate the laning situation somewhat. Ursa trying to grab a couple of CS here and there, but Black giving him a really hard time. And this GeekFam tri-lane not enjoying the fact that the Crystal Maiden has to just sit here in the lane. So I feel like this is really smart from Faceless. Not only do they kind of shut down the Underlord a little bit and give really good farm to the Timbersaw, but they're also going to keep the Crystal Maiden hanging around here. Looks like it could be some trouble for the Treant Protector, however. They've got multiple sentries, and looks like Black's just going to have to leave him for dead. One last crush is going to actually do it, and they continue the pursuit onto Black. Psionics manages to get the clap down, but Faceless will just have to retreat themselves back. This is the one downside of their tri-lane, is that they don't really have any ways to peel. Glimpse is kind of it. So if the Treant Protector gets gone on, I mean, all that Terrorblade can do is just stand there and watch. Does have the 1 point up in the reflection. But what else is going on? Jab's in pretty deep here. Really putting the hurt onto Tihi. One last auto attack's not going to be enough. He's phase shifting for now. Throws out the orb, still chasing, but Shadow Fiend just going to salve up. Nope. Jab still wants this kill. Nice dodge on the raise, perfectly timed. Tihi still got a Fairy Fire, but that's going to get forced out. And he only barely survives. The Underlord's already used his offlane Shrine. It does get a Bounty Rune Consolation Prize. Meanwhile, up top, looks like Psionics should be falling one more time. They've got the second Metamorphosis of the lane, and it will be an additional kill. Meanwhile, Treant Protector actually dying just around the corner. Velo actually ditching the lane at this point, just aggroing creeps and farming it up, forcing Ice 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 to farm underneath the tower. Raji, did they bring a salve for him? Looks like they did. Or no, Crystal Maiden's going to be bringing the salves. Alright. Disruptor does manage to swipe the bounty rune. And in general, things looking very good for Faceless in terms of farm. Look at this mid lane, 20 and 11 versus 8 and 0. Tiki gonna try and spam it out with the raise. He does have the Crystal Maiden aura now to help him out a little bit. So even without the CM aura, we've been seeing people not go for the bottle build. So he does have his boots picked up, but Puck still just crushing this mid lane. Already has his second Null Talisman picked up as well. So his damage definitely getting up there. Even able to contest the Shadow Fiend after he picks up a couple of souls. Train Protector has given up on top lane for the time being, and it looks like Faceless in general just going to start pulling back from that lane. And Terrorblade going to start jungling up a little bit. Doesn't have a Quelling Blade picked up just yet, but probably see that before too long. And that does free up the Slardar and the Crystal Maiden to start running some pulls, start farming up a little bit, and the Ursa will start to pick up his farm a bit more as well. Timbersaw did end up going for an Orb of Venom down here. Ice 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 still just farming away. Meanwhile, Tiki just going to completely ditch the mid lane and head into the jungle. Looks like Raji was considering hanging around there to soak a little bit of experience, but instead he wants to try and make a play up here on top. They've got nice vision off of this Dire Observer Ward. Just trying to avoid being detected. They do actually... Why do they have 2 Dire Observer Wards? That seems like a bit of a goof. Black in trouble. Again, very, very difficult for Nuts to peel for him. They're probably going to try and run for it, but one more auto attack should do it. The stick charges keep him alive just that little bit longer, but unable to escape the bear. So he gets brought down. Train Protector is now up here. As Nuts is able to chase them away a little bit, but they got the kill that they were looking for. And we'll see what Black does now. We'll see if this motivates them to go for a lane swap, perhaps. Nope, he's going to TP straight back up towards top. They spotted the Train Protector over in the trees. XY going to fade in 1 second's time. Do they have any more detection? Looks like they do not. But interesting to see the Faceless are... well, Zelo just going to try for the TP out here. This does take a little while, but everything from Ice 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 on cooldown. So he's just going to head into the truth. Actually took the Shadow Fiend with him. Uh-oh. That was not great, but he can at least TP himself back out. Ice 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 has a salve. He's just going to be able to heal back up. But yeah, this is what happens in the Timber versus Underlord lane. You get to a certain point where Timber's just threatening your life every 30 seconds or so. Ursa trying for a pull. They do run in here with a dust. They don't get the crush, but they do get the clap. They've got the Puck in the neighborhood. Throws the Orbat. Does still have the Dream Coil as well. They're waiting until the Ursa drops pretty low. He doesn't have his ultimate. One more auto attack will do it. Jab's going to look for 2 here, but he needs to be careful of the crush. And Raji times it just right to be able to sprint himself away. So avoids taking the break stun and will be able to survive. Also has 10 wand charges ready to go. So even if I think even if Jabs had pursued that, wouldn't have been able to grab the kill. But at least they get the Ursa. Ursa only 19 CS so far. This is the other slightly unfortunate thing about the Underlord, is that he's not much of a playmaking hero. So the best that he can really do is ask a couple of his teammates to come and deathball with him. But he's not going to be running around and setting up ganks. That's really what the Slardar is for. But Raji's still only level 3 at this point. Train Protector, you know, around that same level as well, but I feel like a little bit more important that the Slardar finds his farm. And Faceless with a smoke, just going to put down a couple of extra wards here and there, as Black is just farming a little bit further back at these ancient, no, not the ancients, but in the jungle. Nuts does manage to swipe the bounty ring, going to take some damage. There isn't actually any help for him nearby. The Dire pretty much completely abandoned him. He will be able to sidestep the orb, but now he gets a glimpse back. Tries to throw out the crush. Can they actually finish him off? The coil is off cooldown, but they don't want to use it, and that sprint plus the auto attack will find that kill. They've also got vision behind the tower. XY going to go running up. They drop the coil. Psionic's just going to break it willingly, but he doesn't have his ultimate for survivability. He's so close to grabbing it, but he will be brought down. Ice 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 rotating in, and this is a 5-man rotation from Faceless towards the top side of the map. Jab's just looking to TP out. Looks like he's going to be okay. Ice. Still a little bit of mana left in the tank. They do have a really nice Pit of Malice, catching a couple. They're going to focus on Disruptor instead. Not certainly the easier kill, but can they actually finish him? Looks like that Firestorm will grab it, and the Timbersaw now completely out of mana. Could be in some trouble. Do they have another pit soon? Very long cooldown, but Sardar might be able to chase and find the crush. Ends up taking the Timber Chain damage, but will be able to run himself away as Black. Just going to use this as space to try and put some damage onto the bottom tier 1 tower, but Underlord arrives on the scene with the Firestorm, and that ambition is going to be very quickly thrown out the window. Train Protector just keeping an eye on Crystal Maiden up here, doing a little bit of farming. So they have put the Timbersaw up here now. He's got his Soul Ring, he's got his Arcane Boots. He's kind of got all the farm sustain that he needs to maintain this #1 net worth spot for a little while. Puck not going to be completing the full Veil, is actually just going to be going for a Blink Dagger first. So still another 700 or so gold for Jabs to complete that one. And Psionics, well, going to get forced out of his safe lane once again. Looks like maybe a little bit of split push. No, in fact, the Shadow Fiend's actually just jungling right now. 1700 gold banked up. No treads just yet. And Velo going to continue playing musical lanes just to try and keep these tier 1 towers up, but does end up taking a pretty significant amount of damage. And alright, DD Puck going to kill off Raji mid. He just wanted some farm. I think he was full HP as well. Just got comboed. This last pick Puck has done a lot of work. Did Shadow Fiend go and grab his items? He did. Picked up a Raindrop as well. So Jab's just going to keep getting some free shots. Meanwhile, top Velo in pretty deep, but does kill off XY. Chakram's going to be there, and Ice finds a turnaround kill. Didn't even get glimpsed there. Just what even happened? Not 100% sure, but maybe got jumped on by the Timbersaw, knew that he was dead, and just went for the Train Protector kill instead. GeekFam slithering up towards top, but getting scouted all the while by Radiant Observer wards. So Black knows that he's relatively safe to keep pushing this bottom lane. The Glyph is going to get popped, but he's still got plenty of damage left, still plenty of Metamorphosis duration. Really nice deny from Psionics. He does have some phase boots to help out a little bit, but I mean, that's a Terrorblade with 2 illusions. Nicely done. Ends up being a little, well, not wasted time necessarily for Black. Still nice to open up the map, but doesn't really give them too much access over onto the Dire side. They have lost the tier 1 tower up on the top side as well, however, so opening up a bit of a net worth lead, about 2k the advantage. Got some Tranquil Boots up now on the Train Protector as a level 6 Disruptor and a level 10 Puck with the Blink Dagger going to go looking for a kill. Looks like they are just going to take the Crystal Maiden pretty much for free. Doesn't have a wand or anything like that. Keep herself alive. Nuts does need to be careful. Moving forward here, and there's going to be a pursuit from the Slardar. Sprint's not going to last that much longer. He does have a glimpse ready to go as well, and could just Static Storm it, canceling the crush. They will be able to combo with the coil as well, but the Shadow Fiend just keeps on pressing forward, and will be able to grab that kill on the Disruptor. So it just ends up being a support for support trade, but with 2 reasonably big ultimates invested from Faceless, that could be the opportunity that GeekFam are looking for to finally take a tier 1 tower of their own. But not if the Train Protector has something to say about it. Can come in here with the bash and the slow. They're also TPing in. Ice, silence onto the Shadow Fiend. Nothing that Velo can really do to help keep him alive, but looks like he will just be able to run himself away. Off on the other side of the fight, they have actually managed to find out the Timbersaw. He whiffs the chain, and that means that the Ursa just eats him up. They don't quite manage to find the kill on this tier 1 tower as Velo just teleport himself away with a Dark Rift, but they get a nice kill on the Timber. They get some good damage in here, though some of that is going to be healed up by the Living Armor. The only level 1 Living Armor at the moment from XY, so not going to be doing that much work. Ursa almost has his Blink. Terrorblade still going to be kind of, you know, playing on the down low for a little bit. Nuts running in here to try and get a ward down, but looks like they might just cost him his life. The ward didn't even survive. Couple of raises. The 1 charges do help keep him up. Is he just going to deny to Roshan? He might have to. Raji's looking for him, and now the sprint is off cooldown, but does he have a glimpse? Yes, he does. Can he get the crush off? Not quite. Gets glimpse back to Jabs, who is waiting, but knows that there are other heroes in the neighborhood. Will not be able to go for that kill. And GeekFam still looking very keen to finish off this mid tower. They do have the Ursa running down towards bottom, and Treant Protector, can he fade out in time? That's the question. Does manage to juke into the trees. It looks like he's going to be okay. The glyph does get popped. Jabs, just a little bit of harassment as he comes through, but needs to be careful. Raji was waiting behind the tower. The coil is still ready to go. They drop the pit down, and Timbersaw TP's in to a world of hurt. Ice just melts. He just dropped a Requiem on his head. Alright. Oh, that's not good news. That's going to even up the net worth at this stage. Yeah. Still waiting on this Terrorblade to really come online and start doing stuff, but if the Shadow Fiend and the Underlord get the farm that they want, I don't know how much he's going to be able to do. We've already got the mech completed for the Underlord. Looks like he's going to go straight into a Crimson Guard after that, and I guess they're maybe relying on the Puck and the Timbersaw, but you know, like we've talked about, the Timber not going to have a very fun time against the Ursa. They do manage to find out the Treant Protector down bottom. Gonna get amped and just pawed down. And Faceless just seem a little bit lost. They really want to push with their Terrorblade. That's what the lineup is supposed to be centered around, but the Underlord is proving to be a pretty big problem. Jabs, again, with a little bit more harassment. They're going to drop the coil down. They've also got Nuts coming in. Metamorphosis going to get popped, but Velo just pops a Dark Rift and away he goes. Unfortunately, once again, takes the Slardar and the Shadow Fiend with him. And I guess Faceless, well, they can have a little chuckle about that and just take the tier 1 tower. Yep, sure. They don't get the last hit, but there you go. We do have the Bloodstone up on the Timber now, so Ice may be a little bit more combat ready now that that's completed. And how is this Yule's going on the Puck? 1600 gold banked. Still going to take him a little bit to farm that up. And Slardar actually doing not too badly. 1500 gold towards his Blink. It is reasonably late into the game, but with the lane swaps and the tri-lane versus tri-lane, both teams have been a little bit more keen to sit back and farm. So it does kind of explain the overall pacing. And again, GeekFam are kind of... I feel like GeekFam are somewhat in control right now. You know, even on the net worth, but I think once they get this Blink on the Slardar, things will probably open up a little bit. Somewhat aggressive move here from Ice, but he does have the backing of his team. The two supports just smoked behind right now. As Terrorblade, no, not Terrorblade, Shadow Fiend also making his way in. Underlord just going to grab a little bit more farm off to the side. Is actually going to be going for a Hood here instead of the Crimson Guard. Can they burst the Slardar? You bet they can. Timbersaw going to grab that kill. Grabs an easy Bloodstone charge. They will get the glimpse back onto Velo. Do they have the Dream Coil available? They do. And Jab's going to chase forward. Uses it now. The mech is still available. And they've got the Shadow Fiend waiting up at the high ground along with the Shrine. Can they keep their Underlord alive? That's the question. As Ice Timber chains all the way through. The Requiem is threatened. And they will get the Frostbite onto the Puck, finishing him off. Shadow Fiend still above half HP. Black looking to chase, but he's already used the Reflection. And looks like Glimpse still on cooldown for another couple of seconds. So it just ends up being 2-for-1 fight overall. Faceless, while the Underlord is dead, how much can they actually get done? Looks like, unfortunately, given that the Metamorphosis is still on cooldown, they're not going to be able to do too much more here. Okay, so Slardar's Blink got slowed down a bit. GeekFam being very defensive with their vision game right now, just kind of maintaining a pretty conservative patch of the map as they continue to farm themselves up. Shadow Fiend has grabbed himself a Shadow Blade, so again, even with how bad the Puck trounced him on mid, you know, 20 and 11 versus 8 and 0 or something in terms of CS, the Shadow Fiend just goes and spams the jungle and he's going to be A-OK SF. Can he get this kill? One more touch is going to do it. Is he in range for this long raise? Throws one out, doesn't account for the living armor, but the auto attack will still be enough to find the kill. Chase that kill to the ends of the earth, but still gets it pretty easily. Meanwhile, bottom, they get the crush onto the Timbersaw, and he won't even get an opportunity to cast another spell. Also gets frostbitten and taken out. It will be a short respawn courtesy of the Bloodstone, but GeekFam starting to strut their stuff a little bit. That was even without the Slardar Blink Dagger picked up. Just able to run forward and find that. Jabs, keen to find some kind of a turnaround. He has gone for a Midas here. Nukes onto the wave, but sees that the rest of GeekFam are still here, and Psionics actually keen to just jump straight on in. Finds the Treant Protector. He's got a Dust as well. XY might be forced to use the Overgrowth just to save his own life here. Does manage to run a little bit further away as the coil does help out, but the Shadow Fiend just sneaks around the tree line. And we'll be able to finish that kill. Puck, fairly elusive, but Shadow Fiend might be waiting for him back behind the tower. Blink is off cooldown. So Jab's just going to play a couple of games here, but needs to be careful about how he does this. Shadow Fiend doesn't even need the races. He's just going to auto-attack him to death. I don't know, was Jabs expecting that he would be able to phase shift a raise, or maybe dodge that first auto-attack and then blink? I don't even know why he kept running forward. Could have just gone back into the fog maybe after the Waning Rifts and potentially blinked and survived. But alright, Tiki gonna pick up 3 kills in a row all the way across the map. 9.2k net worth up on him now. Velo gonna grab his hood right after they finish off this tower. And in the meantime, Faceless will try and take the tier 2 up top. Black does have a Metamorphosis available. Train Protector once again gonna get caught out on the mid lane. Alright, what's gonna happen up top? Shadow Fiend, Shadowblade in, look for the Requiem Bomb. Black not standing still, however. Will just be able to back himself up. Alright, a little bit of damage onto Raji over on the side. Is gonna get glimpsed back in, finished off by the Illusion. Psionics on the front lines. Still has his ultimate available, but needs to be careful. Pops it now. Still gonna get chased down by Jabs. The Dream Coil getting dropped. Do they have anything left to save him? The mech's already been used. He does get some decent damage on the Timber, but Faceless, slightly better formation. Teehee wants to fight once again. Is Black looking at his armor? What is going on here? He just seems to know every single time the Shadow Fiend's trying to Requiem Bomb him. Maybe they've got... Do they have any vision around here? Nope. Alright. Black just knows what's going on. Maybe just thinking to himself, if I was Shadow Fiend here, what would I be trying to do? Ah, yes. I would be trying to Requiem Bomb my face off. So... Alright. Faceless do take a decent fight, unfortunately. They can't segue that into a tower, so it looks like we are hunkering down for the late game a little bit. As far as non-right-click cores go, Puck and Timbersaw do definitely scale pretty decently. Timber has just grabbed himself a Yule, so a little bit more kiting potential against... It helps against the Amp, it helps against the Frostbite. Unfortunately, it's not that helpful against Pit of Malice, because you get hit by the pit, and then you Yules yourself, and then you come right back down, and the pit is back off cooldown pretty much. And you just get instantly rooted once again. So that's going to be really annoying for Ice this game. Might even see him opt for a BKB at some point just to help deal with that. Meanwhile, Crystal Maiden is getting scattered here by XY. They've got the Puck rotating in to try and find this kill, but Velo is also just around the corner. Going to pop the ultimate and then just look to finish this one off. Actually gets separated from his team by the Overgrowth. And won't be able to save the Crystal Maiden. Alright, XY. That was not at all what he was intending to do, but the Overgrowth works out great. And they will get the free Crystal Maiden pick off. Metamorphosis is going to be back up in 5 seconds time, so it looks like Faceless is going to try and mobilize to grab this tier 2 tower. GeekFam not really in a position to take a tower of their own. They have shoved in this mid lane a decent amount, but much more focused on defending than putting on any kind of offense. We need to be a little bit careful, but Underlord is quite tanky, and the Firestorm dealing with the illusions very quickly, so that's already going to be 30 seconds or so from the Metamorphosis wasted. XY looking for the initiation. They do have a Sentry Ward down over here. But looks like no regular vision just yet. They do get the jump-in crush onto the Train Protector. Where's the damage? Psionics following up. He will get Yules, but that wastes a little bit of the Static Storm duration. And that should mean that he's going to be able to pop his ultimate here. He's only at half HP right now. Teehee also running through. Hasn't used the Requiem just yet. Still plenty of cooldowns. Jab's going to go for the silence. And will be able to blink himself away. So GeekFam only grabbing the 1 kill there. The tier 2 tower does end up taking quite a bit of damage. It looks like Black finding an opportunity to get in there and work his way through it, but GeekFam, they've got Shadow Fiend, Slardar, and Ursa, so an extremely fast Roshan for them. They do need to be a little bit careful about just getting bombed by the Puck. The mech going to heal them back up a little bit longer. They're half heading out, half committing for this. They will be able to grab it. Nice pit. He's going to catch on the Timbersaw for a second, but able to run himself back, and now Raji actually in some trouble. Looks like he's going to be sacrificed so far. They're going to drop the Dream Coil. It catches onto 3. Underlord does not have his ultimate available right now. He's just going to run up onto the high ground. Crystal Maiden waiting down here. Will let go with the Freezing Field. Timbersaw jumping through, but ends up in a somewhat awkward position. However, the Pit of Malice is going to be silenced out from the Underlord. He can't cast it just yet. He's still got some launch charges. The Crystal Maiden going to juke on over into the trees. The Timbersaw does have a Yule Scepter to help keep himself alive, as the Requiem will not finish him off. They found 2 kills on Faceless so far, and the Dark Rift will get the rest of them out of there, as Timbersaw survives on a sliver of HP. Heals back up off the wand. They do manage to get the Aegis out intact, which is pretty sweet for GeekFam. Underlord almost has his Guardian Greaves. I guess just getting pretty sick of dealing with the overgrowth and the Puck Silence. And they do go for a smoke. I mean, they've got the advantage right now. They've got the Aegis. They've got a Basher picked up on their Ursa as well, and looks like they're just eyeing up Ice 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 down here on the bottom side of the map. They're going to show the Underlord on mid with a mysterious Firestorm coming from nowhere. And Timbersaw does back up. Instead, they turn their attention over towards this smoke. He gets broken. They're going to jump in. They kill out the Disruptor. He gets some spells down, but the Ursa survives with his ultimate. Slardart does get Dagoned in the face, but still alive. Looks for the crush, but gets bursted by Ice 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 before he can get it off. Black getting pressured back by the Shadow Fiend, who is the one carrying the Aegis right now. He's going to turn around with the raises. Black still holding on to the Sunder. Man fighting for the time being. Goes to the swap now onto Velo. The Aegis is being popped, and he's being forced away by the Silence. Black still looking very healthy, but Psionic's going to try and probably team up here with the Shadow Fiend to look to bring down the Terrorblade. A couple more auto attacks will do it. Puck still juking and jiving around in this fight, but he's going to get rooted up by the pit. Jumps across, but there's another root waiting from the Crystal Maiden. And in the end, it will be a triple kill for the Ursa. Getting his ultimate off before that Static Storm went down. Really saving his life in that fight. They're looking for some more catch. Timbersaw has returned. Velo, still no ultimate just yet. Shadow Fiend now letting go with the Requiem. It looks like Ice 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 taking huge damage as he Timber Chains over the top of the Shadow Fiend. Gets finished off. That's a double kill for Tiki. Make it a triple. He's got a godlike streak. Oh man, Faceless. How much damage? Look at the Shadow Fiend's damage that fight. That was ridiculous. What was a disappearing act from Ice Ice Ice? Now you see his health. Now you don't. And despite the fact that it looked like GeekFam might get cleaned up on the way out, they turn the fight and they take the tier 2 tower. They're now up by 5.5k net worth. Timber just going to try and split push out on the other side of the map, but yeah, this Underlord pick is putting in so much work against both the Timbersaw and the Terrorblade. It's not a hero that we see that much of, but it's really making life difficult. And it's even making life tough for the Puck. Puck can't jump in and really burst anybody because of the mech. You know, we could have a hood up before too long. He's completed the Crimson Guard now, so between the Crimson Guard and the Atrophy Aura, the Terrorblade is really not going to be bursting anyone. And yeah, look at this. Black even just feeling forced to go into a BKB. There's too much lockdown. There's too much AoE control. Faceless, one more swing at this top tier 2. It looks like that's the next thing on the agenda. Teehee not too far away from Mascati, 5.2k gold in his piggy bank. And alright, Underlord is going to be going back for his Guardian Greaves. Nuts. Just going to put a little ward up here on the high ground, but does get scattered out by this dire ward that's about to fade. Underlord getting bursted, but pops all of his defensive cooldowns, and Black barely tickling him with the ultimate. He does get chased down a little bit further by the Timbersaw, however. They will lose Nuts, and now Raji coming in from the backline's jab, getting crushed up. Teehee, 2 shots to finish off the Terrain Protector, threatens the ultimate, forces Black back, and he is being slowed down. The Razes continuing to chip him out. He does still have the Sunder. They need to be a little bit careful. He's going to walk forward and look for it here on the Shadow Fiend, but he doesn't get it. The Crystal Maiden actually able to interrupt him for now. He does finally get it off, but it's only on the Slardar who gets a final crush. And now Teehee picking up 2 more kills beyond godlike. Puck gets rooted, will still be able to jump away to his orb, but gets chased down by the Slardar. Pays with his life for this one and jabs. Long duration phase shift, able to keep on running. Does actually make it out. Oh man, Puck is breaking some ankles this game, but it's really not mattering. They just can't get their Terrorblade into the fights. Every time he tries to move forward, there's just some disable or a Pit of Malice, or even just a Firestorm. It's really, really difficult for him to move around in these fights. They do finally manage to grab this tier 2 up on top, but Scotty up for the Shadow Fiend now. Roshan in about another 3 minutes or so.
Radiant's bottom tower
And some
is under
furious scribbling from Ice on the minimap. Has picked up some Boots of Travel down to a 4-charge Bloodstone now. He's going to be going for an Aghanim Scepter next. Actually, nope. He was going for an Aghanim Scepter. Still deciding that he wants the Lotus Orb, it looks like. I guess potentially pretty helpful for his team as well. No. Alright, back to the Scepter idea. Gets the point booster. Looks like maybe a little bit of discussion going on in the Faceless camp right now. Shadow Fiend going to be going for a Mjolnir next. Not the most standard item necessarily for him, but just some more hate being thrown Black's way. Also not too bad against the Timber. He's got pretty high armor, so the magical damage is pretty effective. Crystal Maiden does have the Glimmer to help keep herself alive. They're going to pop down a couple of sentries, but backup is on its way. Slaughter, however, gets caught by the Static Storm and gets caught by the Dream Coil, but that means 2 big ultimates invested, and the rest of GeekFam sensing that are going to come running in here. Teehee, needing to be a little bit careful, is taking damage from the Chakram, and the Metamorphosis actually doing some work. He gets brought down as Jabs jumps in once more. XY won't be able to do anything about the Dark Rift, so they do manage to get out the rest of their team at the end of the day, but very costly death for the Shadow Fiend. I guess what, Underlord just couldn't get to him, or maybe Crimson Guard was already popped some cooldowns to try and save the Slardar perhaps, and Shadow Fiend just dropped like a sack of potatoes. I thought he was going to be able to stand there and man-fight, but did not work out that way at all. So, alright, and Velo, keen to defend this bottom tower, but might be in some trouble. He does manage to get the pit down. Still has the Crimson Guard to pop, but getting focused by the Timber. They've also got Jabs jumping through, Yules and the Crystal Maiden. Nice 2-man silence, keeping the backlines controlled, but Psionics does come forward. He's only got the kill on the Treant Protector thus far. We've got another Dagon being fired off in the Crystal Maiden's direction, but she's got plenty of magic resist. Jabs needing to be careful, but he's got the phase shift back up. However, the bash immediately locking him down, and Psionics will pick up yet another kill, as it looks like GeekFam will be able to hold their 2-2 tower down bottom. Timbersaw split pushing out the top side of the map in the meantime, and Ice actually has completed his Aghanim Scepter now, so he's going to go back for the Lotus Orb. Disruptor going to go for a Glimmer Cape. Does Treant Protector finally have his Solar Crest? God no, he's got really no money at all. Raji trying to do a little bit of warding, needs to be careful. Ice comes flying through. He's got the Yules for a little bit of lockdown as well. There will be a crush. Can he get the blink off? Getting glimpsed back to where he was. Static Storm, Kinetic Field just to help keep him locked down. Velo trying to get in range to help him out with the mech. But down he goes. So Ice reassembling a couple of his Bloodstone charges there. Ursa now has his 10-second BKB. Shadow Fiend not going to be going for a BKB. Looks like instead just opting for a Hurricane Pike for a little bit of maneuverability in these fights. Which, given that I think a big part of how he died in that fight was just getting slowed on top of the Chakram and getting chewed down. So, makes some decent sense. Terrorblade going to be going for a Scotty. Black yet to use his 10-second BKB just yet. So that's definitely going to help him in one of these upcoming fights, though Ursa is working his way towards an Abyssal Blade, so that's gonna counteract things a little bit, perhaps. Roshan back up in a bit. Yeah, 50 seconds time. Velo chasing onto the Ice Timber, but with the Yule Scepter and the Boots of Travel move speed, he'll be able to open up enough space, and actually making space for himself, drawing everybody over towards the top side of the map, and now immediately coming down bottom to continue the push. All the while, Black is just hitting some creeps over in his own jungle, so keeping his farm up at the very least. We're about 2.5k net worth in the Dire's favor right now, about what, 7k experience. Who is really behind in terms of levels on the Radiant side? All right, well they're missing level 18 just yet on the Disruptor. Treant only level 12 right now. Everybody else kind of fairly close, and alright, Ice instead just going to be going for a Blink Dagger now. I don't believe we have a gem picked up for either side. Definitely something that GeekFam should be looking for at some stage, but instead they're going to find themselves a Roche. And with the amp damage and the Ursa, even the Terrorblade scouting is not going to be really enough to do anything about this. They will pick up the Aegis, and they get immediately sent down to bottom lane where they're waiting with a Dream Coil, a Static Storm, and a Kinetic Field. They may have just teleported into their deaths. They've already lost 2. The Aegis is dead. Slardar's being controlled. I don't know what they were hoping to TP into here. Why was it the tier 2? Why not the Shrine? And now they've lost the Slardar as well. Shadow Fiend will be able to Hurricane Pike himself a little bit further away. Buyback from the Underlord. And they do have a little bit more control for Faceless to be able to escape. All that work for the Aegis just thrown out the window. God. I didn't even see where they were teleporting. These Dark Rifts from Velo have been somewhat questionable this game, I think. These Dark Rifted bot and dragged the Shadow Fiend away, which was okay. He was probably about to die. Then mid, he Dark Rifted and dragged the Shadow Fiend and the Slardar away, and now he just dragged his entire team into the Static Storm. Not a good look. Ice is going to be pretty happy with it though, getting some more Bloodstone charges back. And alright. Well, it was supposed to be potential Aegis push coming up for GeekFam, but instead they're going to be sent packing. Jabs has his level 5 Dagon now. I thought it was going to be difficult for them to burst the Underlord, but his EHP isn't going up by that much, and the damage from Faceless is actually continuing to scale and scale and scale, which is getting pretty scary. SF is now going to be going back for a BKB. His damage is decent, but not ridiculous. I wonder if a BKB Butterfly would have served him a little bit better this game, perhaps. They do manage to find XY. Psionic still holding on to his Beyond Godlike streak here, as this tier 1 tower up top is still here, so GeekFam gonna deal with that pretty quickly while Ice split pushes the other side of the map. He's going for an E-Blade right now.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
A bit more damage. Raji just hoping to find some straggler over in the trees, and Jabs is actually over here. But Phase Shift Blink is going to get him out of harm's way. Needs to get that Midas back on cooldown. Black's Illusion just farming a little bit off to the side, but GeekFam looking keen to keep up the siege. Ice is punching wood on this tier 3, however. Alright, they're jumping out with the Underlord. Can they cancel anybody? They've actually managed to get the glimpse back onto the Crystal Maiden. 10-10-10 manages to glimpse, no, not glimpse, glimmer and head over into the trees, but it fades now and he will be taken out. They do manage to defend their tier 3 bottom, but not without it taking a decent amount of damage. They didn't even get the tier 2 up top. It's just going to be healed back up by the Train Protector, so the overall exchange is losing life on their tier 3 for absolutely no gain. I don't know, GeekFam just losing the plot a little bit. Shadow Fiend does manage to force staff himself a bit further back towards the tower, but Ice still pretty big, still pretty scary. Underlord getting bursted. Static Storm, Kinetic Field gonna catch him here. Tries to run away from that double chakram, but the Overgrowth gets dropped down, and it looks like his team just won't be able to help him. The Requiem gets dropped from long distance, but barely even clips the Terrorblade. They do manage to get a long-range glimpse back onto the Slardar as well, and with 3 dead, Black is now king of this mid lane. Able to keep the push going onto the tier 2. Still has the Mantis Style ready to go, and good duration left on the Metamorphosis. Timbersaw going to clear out that creep wave quickly, and Black more than happy to head up onto the high ground. The Glyph is still down, and they're missing 2 heroes. Shadow Fiend still no BKB just yet. He does actually have the gold, just needs to bring it out on the Courier, but more distracted with the issue that they're having with this Terrorblade on the front lines. He's going to take out the tier 3. They could even maybe go and get that tier 3 down bottom. They're fishing for the Underlord buyback, but he doesn't have it, and that's just going to be the full lane of racks down, actually. I guess with the Metamorphosis running out, not interested in going to take any additional objectives. Just going to back themselves up. Go grab that Solar Crest finally on the Train Protector. 37 minutes into this game. But, alright. Shadow Fiend makes his decision. He wants the Mjolnir. He's going to be... What are you TPing into? Oh my god. Was he really going to do it? Was he really going to TP in there like that? I don't know. This Mjolnir seems weird. I feel like going for the Scotty has kind of messed around with it. Not the Scotty necessarily being the issue, but I feel like Butterfly BKB would have served him really, really well. He is quite tanky, 3k health at this stage, but the burst damage on Faceless has started to get pretty ridiculous. Timbersaw now has his E-Blade as well, so his damage potential is extremely high. It's really interesting to see how Faceless have played this. At one stage, Ice was thinking, oh man, do I need to get some defensive items? And instead, just hits the split push extremely hard, farms up like 15k net worth in no time flat, and now he has his E-Blade, his Ags, and his Blink, and he's just threatening everybody all over the map. Velo does manage to Dark Rift himself back out, but these shrines are not long for this world. As Black makes his way over to deal with that. He's going to be going for a Butterfly after that, and I don't believe we have Monkey King bars on either the Ursa or the Shadow Fiend. So this Terrorblade is going to be pretty scary. They took the edge off of his damage with the... Well, the idea is that they're going to take the edge off of his damage with this Underlord, but as we've seen, Velo is actually really struggling to just stand in the middle of these team fights. Maybe if he had a Shiva's Guard, would be able to do it a bit more effectively, but even then, he's just susceptible to getting bursted by the Timber and the Puck. All right, XY, Gem picked up. Get the glimpse back onto the Shadow Fiend. Do not manage to catch him in the kinetic field, but they will be able to chase a bit further in. Again, still pretty tanky. They will drop the Dream Crawl on a couple. As Psionics tries to focus onto Nuts. He's still alive for the time being. Gets off one last kinetic field Static Storm. Not even going down just yet. One auto attack from the Shadow Fiend will do it, but Black, he's got so many illusions. He chews through the Slardar. Now a little bit further over, it is the Timbersaw, able to keep himself alive with the Self E-Blade, trying to jump through onto that tree, but it's already been chopped down, so Will just heals himself up. Jumps a little bit further over. The Terrorblade's stuck in the Pit of Malice, but still has his ultimate available right now. Just going to focus on Teehee. They kite back to the shrine, and we'll be able to disengage this fight a little bit. Ursa. Abyssal Blade soon, but no Blink Dagger for a couple of seconds. So won't be able to keep chasing here. And in the end, it's just GeekFam losing 2. 2 for 1. Disruptor's got the respawn talent, so he's already back.
Dire's top tower
And Roshan potentially back up in about 30 seconds time. GeekFam starting to lose out on the map control as this Timbersaw and the Terrorblade split push just keeps pressing onto their side of the map non-stop. You would think that with the Underlord they would have the tools to be able to deal with this, but we're about to see what happens to the Underlord when he tries to venture out too far, perhaps. Yep, TP in from the Timber. Can he kill this? Can he kill that creep in time? Looks like he isn't able to. Gonna try for the TP out. Can they get the glimpse timing? That's the question. Ice, not Ice, Nuts is going to go for it. Velo now is to try for the regular old TP, but they got a Yules to cancel that. And looks like he will be brought down. Ice, is he back up to 12 Bloodstone charges? He's back to 13. And with no Underlord, Black very keen to get some damage onto this tier 3 tower. Unfortunately, does not have the Metamorphosis right now. Can he get broken up? They've got the Solar Crest for him. They do manage to jump in as well, doing some damage. He's got the Sunder ready to go. Heals himself back up to full, and the Dagon finishes off the Slardar. The gem hits the deck. Can they go in and grab that one? XY wanted it. The Crystal Maiden wanted it a little bit more. Will she get punished for that? Psionic's actually able to jump forward. Brings down the Disruptor, but gets Yuled immediately. Faceless. Still no meta for 20 seconds time. The Underlord still down for yet another 40. Timbersaw has 5.7k gold. Alright. I thought it was maybe a little bold picking the Ice Timber as early as they did, but he has been putting on an absolute clinic this game. He was getting crushed in the earlier teamfights by the Frostbite and the Pit of Malice, but it just seems like as his item progression has gotten better, and maybe his positioning in these teamfights also getting a little bit better, he's really putting in a lot of work. So what, we got... How does he wrap this build up? Maybe gets a Dagon of his own. Octarine Core, not awful. Hex, also an option. Probably worth considering. Shadow Fiend still has this BKB money, but hasn't bought it just yet. Terrorblade, does he have his Butterfly? Not quite. Black, a little bit more farm to go on that one. To get the glimpse back onto the Ursa. He's got the BKB. Forced out a little bit early. The Overgrowth does contain him, and he pops his ultimate as well, so that's all of his big cooldowns gone. How many more kills can they get? They're going to look for a bash on Ice, and they do manage to grab it. Black is here now, however. Static Storm not going to catch anything. Shadow Fiend, his own illusion giving him a very, very hard time as he also gets Dagon'd in the face. Nothing that they can do to heal him up. They're going to try and teleport him out, but the Chakra in return finishes him. And Velo actually canceling that Dark Rift, meaning that 10-10-10 and the Underlord both stuck here. They will jump in one more time with Raji. Psionics also looking to re-engage Black, trying to stay alive as best he can, and actually survives to get off a couple more auto attacks. That's the second ultimate for the Ursa this fight. And Nuts is actually the sole survivor for Faceless. After all is said and done, they will be able to get a glimpse back onto the Ursa, but Slaughter are going to keep on chasing, and with no further mobility for Disruptor, he will be brought down as GeekFam find themselves a very nicely timed Roshan respawn. And I thought with the Shadow Fiend dying as early as he did in that fight, and the BKB being used early as well from the Ursa, that they weren't going to be able to do it, but they didn't kill the Slardar. I think he managed to jump in and out with a couple of stuns. No buybacks or anything used. I mean, even if GeekFam had buybacks, it would have been pretty difficult for them to get back into the fight, so they get thrown a lifeline. Ursa's got the Aegis now. Shadow Fiend, 28k net worth, but I don't know, just dying to his own illusion in these fights. I guess that was part of what happened down here as well, and I didn't even realize it, but it wasn't just the reflection slow keeping him in the chakram, it was his own illusion just killing him. Alright, so as much as the Shadow Fiend can be good against the Terrorblade because of the Requiem, the Terrorblade also giving him a pretty hard time with the reflection. Alright. So what happens now? What are GeekFam going to try and make happen? They still have to take these tier 2s to make any attempts on the base. They still have to manage their mid lane. So I worry that they're just going to get stalled out by Faceless. Pushing into the Timbersaw is going to be very difficult. And they don't really have the catch for Ice either. In terms of the gems, looks like Faceless did lose theirs. So they're going to be a little bit light on map control for the next little bit. We do have a Blink Dagger up on the Train Protector, and XY probably going to do his best just to scout things out, but with the map being very dark, Faceless just going to group themselves up, play as a team for the most part, and hammer these side lanes really hard to try and waste GeekFam's time. They go for a smoke, but they haven't cleared the mid lane just yet. Looks like that responsibility is going to fall to the Shadow Fiend. He does have his 10-second BKB up now. As the 4-man smoke gank will make its way just out in front. Sado's got the gem in hand. Do they spot anything? They kind of have to keep pushing this wave, unfortunately, and meanwhile Faceless is making a move on the bottom side. GeekFam, does everybody have a TP scroll? Yes. I would be very surprised if they didn't. Actually, Velo swapping his in now, and Faceless, they got an Arcane Rune on this Terrorblade. They're just going to go hit the base. This tier 3 was already low. The Glyph's going to be popped. Velo TPing in quickly, does drop down the pit, has the Firestorm as well, defending their lane. Will be able to pop the Crimson Guard as well to defend his racks. As Terrorblade just going to turn around and fight a little bit. They don't have any kind of a flank. They're just trying to fight in from the front. And Shadow Fiend getting forced back by the Chakram. Black stands his ground for the time being. Velo pressing forward. Does still have the cheese as well, so not too worried about being bursted, but does need to be careful of the Dagon on the puck. And the Timbersaw damage. They repel them from the base, but lose the tier 3 in the process. Black not going to have his ultimate for too much longer, so it looks like that should be the sign for Faceless to retreat. Black getting body blocked up by his own creep wave, and Raji going to jump in. Does get the crush out onto 2. Can they burst the Terrorblade without his ultimate going off? That's the big question here as he uses the BKB. The reflection doing decent work, but with no metamorphosis, it is difficult for him to fight. Timbersaw going to spend some time up in the air. Teehee is 10-second BKB already wearing off as he now looks to turn around and do some damage. Dark Rift getting cancelled. This Ursa still going to be A-OK and does still have the Aegis, but they've lost the Slardar, so a big control factor is now gone. Timbersaw still keeping the slow going with the Chakram, but the Ursa is just flirting around the sides of the fight. Drops the Abyssal Blade onto Puck, it looks like. Oh no, that might have not even been the Abyssal Blade, maybe just bashing him and getting that kill. Terrorblade. Another reflection, but Black just getting slowed up. Gets bashed right at the opportunity that he would have needed to use his Sunder. Brought down. Psionics still chasing. Now finding Ice. We'll get Yules. Nice Timber Chain away. And looks like Ice is going to be alright. In the meantime, Effigy in the base getting finished off by these super creeps. And Ice is just going to TP top to keep the pressure up. And forces the TP back from the Crystal Maiden. Ursa's TP is still on cooldown. And Underlord no TP and no Dark Wraith. So I guess they're stuck here. Just going to take the tier 2. Still going to be tough to push up into this Timbersaw. Not to mention the Terrain Protector. Puck might consider the buyback. The Terrorblade now just barely has his buyback available. Looks like passive gold actually getting that for him. Kinetic Field gonna keep the Underlord out, but Shadow Fiend still able to auto attack from the low ground. Ice jumps in, does some damage. Double Chakram getting spammed out. Underlord still confident to stand on the front lines with his cheese, but the creep wave gets mowed down. And only 30 seconds to go until they do have their Terrorblade back up with not even a scratch on the tier 3. They see the Crystal Maiden at mid, but that's not a huge deal. The Aegis is being reclaimed, and that's a big issue. Yep, alright, with that, GeekFam gonna back themselves up. In terms of buyback status, we've got a decent number of heroes hanging on to their buyback right now. Shadow Fiend with another 4.6k gold. Wonder what he gets. Has he seen any of the butterfly components on the Terrorblade just yet? I think that he hasn't. So TB gonna get the butterfly now, and it's gonna be a big boost for him, especially against all this physical damage. Not to mention in terms of his damage as well. He has gone for the 30-second Sunder, minus 30-second Sunder cooldown. So if Black can just stay alive, if his team can throw some E-Blades on him and maybe force staff him around a bit, might be able to get that off twice in a fight. Roshan's still down for at least another 2 minutes. And Shadow Fiend, well, feeling like he's slotted, is just going to buy up some Boots of Travel here. So Ice finds himself a nice little Arcane Rune, but they are instead just going to give that over to the Terrorblade as he starts building up his Illusion army. Nebula needs to be careful. He does have his ultimate along with the cheese to maybe get out of this one, but he's actually getting bursted very, very quickly. Silenced up. Requiem from the high ground does catch onto a couple. Black's damage reduced somewhat, but he pops the BKB and just keeps on nailing Velo. Last couple of auto attacks should finish him off. He's actually just so survivable. It's 1-for-1 so far. Psionic still getting kited as well by the Scotty, but Shadow Fiend letting down hell from the high ground. Terrorblade, can they finish him off? He doesn't manage to get off the Sunder. Ice still kiting around this fight, losing mana pretty quickly. Does get broken up, but Raji chasing him up to the high ground. Can they finish this kill? Looks like Tiki might be able to do it. Nice double raise. Finishes that kill. They do lose the Ursa in the end. And still no Roshan. So it looks like neither team really going to make that much forward progress. But at least the Shadow Fiend finally starting to do something in fights. Looks like the Underlord, his Guardian Greaves armor and regen kicked in, and it really looked like the Terrorblade auto attacks were just doing nothing. Can Terrorblade actually outrange the, oh, I can't see it right now because he's, what's it, attack range 550 plus 140, so 690 versus the Atrophy Aura, which is 900. No, so you probably cannot outrange the Atrophy Aura, unfortunately. Shadow Fiend now with 6.6k gold. That was a pretty big kill on the Timber. Ice is already back up. And Jabs has picked up his level 25, so got that 420 GPM rolling. He's got a Lincoln Sphere now. I think maybe more for the Terrorblade than it is for him, but Ice. Also a pretty rich man. Gonna buy his Dagon 5. No longer has the Yule Scepter anymore, so very much relying on his team to help keep him alive. Of course, the Ethereal Blade helping out a little bit in that regard, though not 100% reliable as we did see in this fight just over here. And it is going to be a smoke from Faceless, though this might have been scouted. No, it's not a Dire Ward up there. It's just some Radiant Vision, so they're going to be alright. GeekFam still just holding onto their high ground. Looks like we do have the Monkey King bar picked up for the Shadow Fiend, subbing out his Hurricane Pike, so also forgoing a little bit of survivability in favor of just being able to actually kill this Terrorblade. Faceless hold the high ground. as we get a smoke from GeekFam. They need to be careful about how they position themselves here. It could be a blink straight into an overgrowth or a blink into a dream call. How many did they catch? It's 4, as now the Timber Saw is just going to go to work. Raji does manage to get his BKB off, but it's pretty late. He does manage to kite away from the high ground as Teehee just goes to work. Black trying to run down, going to drop the Sunder onto Velo, getting slid across. Psionics going to try and lock him down. He does have the Abyssal Blade ready to go, but they dig on the Shadow Fiend right in the face, and he'll get dropped. They're going to try for the Dark Rift to evacuate everybody, and that will be successful. About 30 seconds to go on the Roshan, but Faceless, what can they look to force here? That's the big question. Looks like not enough Metamorphosis duration to be able to get into the base, so maybe just sitting around for now. Shadow Fiend still #1 on net worth despite that death. Another 3.5k after completing the MKB. Puck going to be carrying the gem for now, but probably wants those inventory slots. Is going to be going for an Ags. I was wondering if it would be the Ags or Hex at this stage. And these BKBs starting to wear a little bit thin. Ice, Ice, Ice really coming into his element. 5-second BKB on the Ursa. Still a 7-second BKB on the Shadow Fiend. And a 9-second BKB, in fact, on the Slardar. So mostly the Ursa who's running into problems. He's going to be going for an MKB of his own. Roshan has respawned, and with the Solar Crest and a little bit of help from Black, looks like Faceless should be able to finish that up. That's going to be an Aegis and a Cheese going their way, I believe. Aegis going to be picked up by the Timber. Looks like Cheese just in the hands of XY right now. And, well, as much as I thought we were going to have some slightly faster games here, looks like we are going to be passing the hour mark fairly easily. We got Underlord spam on one side, we got Timbersaw spam on the other. It's just, it's a bit of a mess, this game. Unfortunately, the support's still not really getting all that much. You know, some items on the Disruptor would be very impactful. He does have his 60 GPM, so that's paid off a little bit in this hour-long game. Going to be working on an Ag, so in general, Faceless just buying as many BKB counters as they can get their hands on. Puck deciding for the Refresher Orb instead of the Aghanim Scepter, or does he have the Ags anyway? Oh, no, he hasn't in his inventory. I'm not even looking. Dude. What did he get rid of? Oh, he sold his Midas. And doesn't have the gem anymore. Alright, I'm just blind. Alright. He had so much gold that I didn't think he'd bought it, but that's 420 GPM on Puck for you. Alright, Velo manages to keep the outspam going. Black gonna try and send some TB illusions to go and chip this ranged Rax at bot. They get a couple of hits, but that's about the extent of it. And also getting a bit of damage on this top tower here. Velo's struggling to deal with the illusion with Butterfly. We'll put the Firestorm down now. Got a TP down towards bottom. They're waiting for the puck, but Jabs immediately jumping away. He's also got a haster, and he's going to be very difficult to catch. And there's 3 heroes down here. They can just go for the high ground, and Jabs can cancel all the TPs. That's the plan. He's just going to keep an eye on them. Psionic's going to run for the hills. Knows that he can't TP in front of the puck, and Jabs continues pursuit. Looks like the top rack's probably getting chipped, but we're going to keep an eye down here. Okay, they've used the coil, but he's still got the Yules to cancel something. They're going to jump in. They will manage to Abyssal Blade him and finish him off, as they haven't even lost the tier 3 just yet. Black dropping low, does have a Sunder ready to go. Same story for the Timber, but no such luck. We'll be able to get the swap off onto Raji. Pops the BKB and runs for the hills. Underlord stuck in the middle of everything. Doesn't have the cheese this time around and will get popped. Black fighting from the high ground, making it difficult for Teehee as Psionics has finally managed to make it to this fight. They've got the Chainstone onto the Terror Blade, and he will be brought down. That's the Aegis as well for the Timbersaw, but I think they're just going to wait for him with a crush. They do get the glimpse back. Requiem pops out, and Raji mistiming that stun a little bit. It's going to cost his own life with the Whirling Death. 10-10-10 still chasing. Nuts needs mana for his TP scroll. He's going to juke into the trees here and hide, probably. Alright, finds a nice little hidey hole, and looks like he's going to get out of there. Oh, Jabs is playing a dangerous game. They did manage to get the majority of the health on this tier 3 tower, so some nice pickups. Ursa has enough for his MKB now if he wants it, but might be looking to save buyback at the same time. And alright, time to see if they can get anything else out. They've got 2 of their big cores still alive, but unfortunately still a tier 2 waiting up here in the top lane. And Timber, a Timber buyback would be enough to hold here for sure, though. The other cores are going to be up even sooner. Shadowfiend does TP over towards top. EKB down to 6 seconds now. Chain Protector just gonna kind of keep an eye on things here. Living Armor slows it down a little bit as they're just going to leave the Ursa to siege on the front lines. Crystal Maiden, good defensive positioning in the back. But she is the only utility hero up right now for GeekFam. And looks like all they're going to get out of those kills is going to be the tier 2 tower. But game equalizing somewhat. Only about a 4k net worth advantage in it right now. About 10k experience. Disruptor still... Wait, is Disruptor looking for levels? Who's looking for levels right now? It is Train Protector just a little bit behind. Looks like we might get everybody to 25 this game. Woohoo. Underlord going to be going for Shivas. Alright, Ursa does buy up his MKB, but only 250 gold away from his buyback. Not a huge deal. And checking in on the overall buyback status, still plenty of buybacks available, so this game could get crazy. And in a hurry, they're going to find the Train Protector, gets the 2-man overgrowth off. Vila will be able to spell it. Slardar still holding onto his BKB, holds his nerve. Train Protector taking some damage. He has been amped up. Dark Rift thrown out. They still haven't even finished Alpha XY, however. They're going to try and burst the CM in the back lines. They will get the Abyssal Blade onto Jabs and finish him off. Now Timbersaw in a little bit of trouble. We'll get Yules'd up, but that's not his Yules. They're just waiting for the crush. They pick up the double kill for Psionics, and Faceless not finding the initiation that they were looking for there. Just going to send Black back to the fountain. And Train Protector also managing to get out. Timber going to buy back now. I guess realizing that the death push is coming down mid, and that they need to defend. If he buys back now, I guess they can maybe save the puck buyback. That's the hope. But we'll see if it works out that way. Black gonna pick up his Moon Shard now. GeekFam, they've got their sights set on some tier 3s here. They're gonna bypass mid and go for bottom for some reason. This tower's already been healed all the way up to full, so I guess they just wanted to cut that wave. Reflection Illusion gonna do some decent damage to SF, but he's got the butterfly now, so he's a little bit more survivable against it. GeekFam looks like they just can't get a wave up to the high ground, unfortunately. So they did still manage to force out the Timbersaw buyback, which is going to be a big deal moving forward. Not using any buybacks of their own. Roshan potentially back up in about a minute and a half. Both teams still hanging onto their gem for the time being. XY has his up. Still got one on the Crystal Maiden as well, so neither team really going to have particularly amazing vision at the moment. And Raji just waiting up here on this high ground. The rest of GeekFam are coming over. Can they get a nice jump in stun? They look for the crush, but the Disruptor force-staffed himself away. BKB gonna end up being popped. They've got the Abyssal Blade onto the puck once again. Jabs just getting popped with no opportunity to cast a single spell. Black gonna get isolated here inside of the pit. Does still have the BKB available. The Overgrowth gonna interrupt the Crystal Maiden ulti. Nice Sunder is gonna put some damage onto Tiki, but the bashes are coming in, and Black's just not gonna be able to survive. He does manage to force staff down onto the low ground, but now it's the Timbersaw who's being isolated. Another bash from the Ursa. Double buyback from the TB and the puck, but with no Ice Timbersaw, what can they really do here? It's a 3v5, and GeekFam are looking hungry. They've even got the Shadow Fiend buying back into the game. Looks like he did die in the end, but senses blood with the Timbersaw being dead, and they will look to claim a couple of lanes of racks here. I don't think they're going to be able to take Megas or end the game, so they will have to be careful about the Shadow Fiend. If he dies, then Faceless could very well go right down mid themselves and end this game the opposite direction. So he knows that he has to be careful, and his team is looking out for him. Crystal Maiden just hovering on the edge of Lotus and Glimmer range to be able to save him if he gets jumped. Black, alright, now throwing out the Reflection. It does decent damage to Tiki, needs to be careful. Let's get healed up a little bit from the Guardian Greaves, and Vila chopping away with his Atrophy Aura bonus damage here on the front lines. They will get one lane of racks, but we're an hour in, so a single lane of racks is not that big a deal. GeekFam know that they have to go for more. They have to exploit the fact that this Timbersaw is dead as much as they possibly can. Tiki, no way to heal him up, really. No urn. No Vlads, no nothing. Alright, so what you see is what you get. This is all the health that he has. Needs to be careful. They're going to force staff in. They do get the reflection out of the Terrorblade. They're going to pop the Dagon on him as well. And that is the Shadow Fiend down. Only 30 seconds to go for their Timber Saw. Psionics has popped his BKB. Runs forward. Managed to get the Train Protector, but that's the only kill so far. They do get the Sunder. Black keeping himself alive. Managed to pop the Manta as well. And the Shrine also going to heal him up. Ursa just going full man mode right now. But the 4 stabs are enough to get Black out of here. Looks like it's time to evacuate for GeekFam, but can they actually do it? The Dark Rift gets cancelled, and that could be trouble. Psionic's going to keep on fighting, but Terrorblade with the living arm is still pretty survivable. One more auto attack's going to do it. Jab's picking up the double kill. Faceless still fighting for dear life, and it's only 2 seconds until the Timber Saw is going to be respawning. Velo almost drops to the Whirling Death. Psionic's actually managing to make a run for it, but Faceless have something else to say about that. He will get glimpsed back. One more Dagon. And one last auto attack from Nuts is going to finish that kill. Immediate buyback from the Ursa, but with no Terrorblade from Faceless, it is going to be a little bit difficult for them to push. So Ice is on the case. Straight into the TP. Over onto the dire side of the map. Going to force out that Crystal Maiden buyback at the very least. Jabs does have his Dagon refresher ready to go, so could just see somebody disappear like that. Disruptor, he's got his Aghanim Scepter now. Alright. Pretty sweet.
Illusion?
Level 23 as well. Who's not level 25? Is it just the 2 Faceless supports? Yep. Nuts level 24. No, not Nuts. XY level 24. The buyback situation is looking a little bit grim for both sides. If you die, you are out for a while at this stage. Velo cannot really afford to get popped, but they've got triple Dagon. And he's gone. It wasn't even a triple. They still hold on to the Refresher Orb from the puck. Crystal Maiden trying to TP out, but does glimpse back. Will go for the ultimate now, but not really doing all that much damage. They're going to try and chase after the Ursa. If he goes down, that could just be game, but Jab's going to jaunt himself away. They do have the Shadow Fiend back up now. Black still down for 28 seconds. Roshan a couple of seconds away. It looks like that could be what Faceless are going for now. Ice. Lamenting his lack of mana regen in his build. That's actually the one problem with his item build right now, is he doesn't have a Hex or a Bloodstone, so his mana regen actually sucks, given that there's no mana regen anymore on the Octarine core. So he's actually just relying on his int for mana regen. Is this a smoke from GeekFam? No, not even a smoke. Just staying a little bit grouped up for the time being. Have a little bit of vision over here, but looks like is Roshan just free for Faceless? This isn't even that fast, but maybe they're not keeping track of the time, or they feel like they can't contest because they don't have any buybacks, but I mean, by the same token, Faceless don't have any buyback. That's why they want this Rosh so badly. They put the Aegis on the puck, so at least now if Jabs gets bursted by the Ursa, he will be able to pop back up and get things done. Shadow Fiend, still no Moonshard just yet. He has his Butterfly in his backpack. I don't know about that. There is still no MKB on the Terrorblade. Alright, Puck gonna share some love with the 420 GPM. Being a little bit of a hippie. He's got some Tomes of Knowledge for his teammates. So, alright, we're gonna get the Disruptor level 25. What are his choices? Magic Resist or 4 Thunderstrike hits? My god, that's pretty unimpressive. I guess he does have 10% Spell Amp. Maybe Thunderstrike hits pretty hard. Oh no, Underlord, that's trouble. Gonna go for the Dark Rift out. Can they pop him in time? That's the question here. Dagon not gonna be enough. And alright, Velo survives. But all 3 lanes getting pushed in at once by Faceless. Yeah, he goes for the Thunderstrike hits. Sure, a bit more damage. Shadow Fiend gonna enter siege mode, swapping out his Boots of Travel for his Butterfly. Bottom lane gonna get pushed up by the Crystal Maiden. She does have her plus 300 Crystal Nova damage. Great at clearing out the Terrorblade illusions, and also good at keeping these waves pushed out at this stage of the game. 9-second cooldown, what's it? 9-second cooldown, 550 damage. Jump in, damage on the Underlord. There's those Dagons, but he's got the Lotus Orb. Also has his Pipe. Gonna pop that off now. Glyph is not being forced out from the Dire team just yet. Shadow Fiend still just laying down auto attacks from the high ground. Crystal Maiden actually getting this lane pushed out pretty far here. You go 10-10-10. Looking Faceless. What are Faceless looking to do? So they've already tried for the jump in and burst somebody's strat. That didn't work. Chipping the high ground, not really working that well with the Terrorblade illusions. But they are going to send some TP illusions towards the tier 4s, though those are also going to regen. But at least diverting GeekFam's attention a little bit. Faceless. They do have their buybacks up soon. 3 buybacks going to be coming with the Shadow Fiend, the Terrorblade, and the Puck. So that could be what they're waiting for. They're going to get some good vision down as well for this upcoming, or this potential upcoming fight. Turn Protector getting close to another Force Staff. As we've seen, the Force Staffs have been absolutely instrumental in keeping the Terrorblade alive this game. So that's not going to be... that's going to be a pretty welcome addition to the arsenal. Timbersaw, I mean, he's pretty much capped. Puck, also pretty much capped. Terrorblade. Yeah, subs out something for the MKB. Has his Moonshot already. No Boots of Travel just yet, but... not as important this game, unless he has buyback and Boots of Travel. That would be the killer play. Face is very keen to get these mega creeps. They're going to send the illusions in through mid. Scouting for some kind of opportunity up at top. This Observer Ward is going to actually end up, I don't know, somehow not getting hit by Teehee, so they do manage to get rid of it now. And this tier 3 tower lives on a sliver of HP, but still, it is bonus armor for the rest of the team, so worth it to keep it up for the time being. Ursa has some Boots of Travel too now. Doesn't have his buyback up for 50 seconds, but looks like they should be able to stall out for that. And oh, this is what happens when you have Terrorblade versus Underlord. Just very difficult to push the base. They're going to jump in, they drop the coil, it's onto the Shadow Fiend, they're going for the Dagon as well, but he's just going to pop the BKB and try and fight his way out of this one. Jab's just barely surviving. Black laying into him from the low ground. Does get Force Staffed a little bit further away. Still nobody dead so far this fight. They jump forward. It's another crush from Raji, but he's now stuck inside of the kinetic field. Will pop the BKB to escape from that one. The tier 3 falls, and Black, keen to make some use of this metamorphosis, will try and press forward. Jabs still has the Aegis as well. Jumping up onto the high ground, harassing a little bit. Does get hit by the Abyssal Blade and brought down. But that is the Abyssal Blade cooldown used, and they've lost the Shadow Fiend down for 99 seconds. Will be forced to buy back pretty much immediately. Black still can't get past the Pit of Malice, and they've got the secondary stun onto the Puck. Ursa tearing him to shreds. More Force Stabs on Black to get him out of this fight. They will get the glimpse back. Ursa not popping his BKB for that, but does give the opportunity perhaps for the Slaughter to continue chasing. This extremely long duration Thunderstrike is continuing to cancel his blink, and turns out to be an extremely valuable level 25 talent for Nuts at the end of the day. So they forced the Shadow Fiend buyback, but with no real loss on their side. The Puck's going to be back up before too long. So we really have to see if GeekFam can push. Tough situation, but they kind of have to. I think if they don't force the Puck buyback, then they're in pretty big trouble. Fortunately, mid lane's already racked, so they could potentially just go through mid over to another lane. But Shadow Fiend needing to be careful. He's picked up a Satanic now. Still not that tanky, but at least if he can pop that, we'll just be able to sit there and lay out the auto attacks in a fight. Trainer Protector needing to be careful. They got the TP coming in, they got the amp into the crush, and Ursa happy to oblige, picking up that kill. Gem hits the deck. 10-10-10, just going to make a little bit of room for that one. Ice, trying to split push these lanes. They do not want to buy back on the Puck if they can avoid it, but it's going to be even more difficult with the Trainer Protector dead, and he's actually dead for 100 seconds. No buyback available. They are scanning for the Timbersaw right now, just trying to get all of these lanes back into position so that they can spend as long as they want here sieging onto another lane of racks, but it looks like not going to get the opportunity. Instead, just going to settle for this shrine over here. Slardar opted for a Shadow Blade. We'll see how valuable that's going to be at this stage. You know, I think both teams have multiple gems probably, so not that difficult for them to maintain the vision, but it is typically only going to be one hero with the gems, so you burst the right guy at the start of the fight, or you... Ooh, that was close. You burst the right guy at the start of the fight, or you just avoid him, then the Shadow Blade actually can be pretty value in the late game. Crystal Maiden, 3.4k gold, 9-second BKB. What else can she go for here? It's probably where you start thinking about Hex and whatnot if you're the CM. Underlord, 4.7k. Everybody's got net worth up to their eyes. Timber has 9.3k. Unfortunately, there isn't really anyone worth buying a Moonshard for this game, so... Alright, looks like he's just gonna go for a Hex.
This'll come in handy.
I wonder what he subs out for the Hex. Maybe the Octarine Court. TPing in pretty blindly, but does know that there's a Underlord over at mid, so much safer than that Shadow Fiend TP we saw him go for earlier when he wanted to complete the Mjolnir. We've actually got 2 Hexes completed for Faceless. Jabs making great use of this 420 GPM talent. He's had it for, what, the last 20 minutes or so? So he is insanely rich. He's going to completely ditch his Yule Scepter. Now we have a 4-man smoke from Faceless. The Timbersaw has opted to ditch his Blink in favor of the Hex, and does have his Boots of Travel ready to go to join his team, but it's not Boots of Travel level 2, so it does need to be careful about the creep that he's TPing on dying. They are going to be able to glimpse back Velo. He tries for the Dark Rift. Can they actually burst him in time? That's the big question here. Ice 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 also coming in, but 2 Dagons is not enough. Underlord does have a decent amount of survivability. Faceless once again going to set their sights up top here. Pretty much every buyback is available other than the Shadow Fiend, who's still waiting on the cooldown for another 3 minutes or so. And looks like we're back to Underlord defending the high ground shenanigans. A little bit of Rain of Fire, a little bit of Pit of Malice, a little bit of Shivas, a little bit of your creep waves completely dead. Black gonna stand here on the front lines. There is some counter initiation potential from his team. He has also gone full siege mode, swapping out his treads here to get both the BKB and the MKB in his inventory at once. They are gonna jump in. They get the Hex onto the Underlord. Can they counter initiate this? They've got a Lotus Orb. It's going to be okay for the time being. They jump in. Puck in some trouble. He's been stunned, but we'll be able to get the phase shift off. Terrorblade's on the high ground going to work, but he can't really get past the Pit of Malice. He's going to focus on the buildings for the time being, but a Glyph is available, and then Crimson Guard doing its job. Ursa is going to get sundered. He's going to get double Dagon, and he's going to be brought down. Fortunately, he does have the buyback. Shadow Fiend not so lucky and needs to be careful. They do get a nice Dream Coil onto 4, and Black still just auto-attacking away, but he's now being caught in the pit. He managed the Manta and Force-Staff himself a little bit further back. Still has the BKB. Can they get the Sunder off? Looks like he will get it. Tihi's the one in trouble. Just trying to kite himself backwards. Can they actually chase him? Black jumps up onto the high ground. He gets the reflection off, and they've killed the Shadow Fiend. Black has buyback. Is he just going to use it and try and close out this game? They've already bought back on the puck. But no, looks like in the end, just going to back up. Just going to reset. There is a Roshan waiting, but with that, if they wait out this Shadow Fiend respawn, then they're going to give him buyback again. Tough call. But even if TB buys back, then he doesn't have meta, but alright, he is buying back. Here we go. This is pretty much a no buyback game at this stage. It's only the Underlord and the Timbersaw who still have impactful buybacks. There is a Roshan and a double damage rune over here, but yeah, Black really wants the Mega Creeps. It's once again Velo being a nuisance, defending the high ground. Black can't really play all that aggressively. Nice stun. Catches onto 2, but they don't have the initiation from the Ursa. Psionics being extremely patient, but that could end up being his downfall. The Underlord's being caught. He will jump in. It's onto the puck. Nice defensive Sunder from Black, but it needs to be careful not to lose his own life. Keeps Jabs alive. They've got another route. Psionics knows that if he gets hexed, he's probably dead, and that will just be the game, but alright. They hand the cheese over to Black. He gets healed up one more time, Hex onto the Underlord. They run through the Firestorm. Terrorblade with his ultimate soon, but Shadow Fiend now has the buyback. Expends it now. Can they find any further catch? That's the question. Velo just running at them. Kinetic Field is going to get put down, and Faceless still thinking about this. The tier 4s have taken a little bit of damage. Dropping somewhat low. Terrorblade needing to be careful. Does have the Sunder. Double Force Staff pushing him further back. Shadow Fiend gonna Silver Edge his way in. Timber needing to be careful. Gets Abyssal Bladed. Does Psionics have the damage to finish him? It looks like the answer is no. Terrain Protector kiting away on the low ground. Jabs in trouble. Phase Shift still on cooldown. One more auto attack. Not gonna do it. He does get Force Staffed back. Black also getting Force Staffed away. But the chase is on. Psionics wants this kill. He will be able to purge off the Ghost Scepter, but Black's doing good damage. They're gonna help keep him alive. He gets off one more Sunder. Black's just man-moding. He's still got plenty of Metamorphosis left. They're gonna get the Hex onto the Crystal Maiden. Jabs returning on very low HP, but it's just for a second. He now jumps out. The Underlord's gonna be taken out, and he's got no buyback available. Teehee returning to this fight, but he gets disarmed. One more Sunder coming through. The BKB is there, but once that fades, the Hex is gonna be there soon. They've got the double Dagon, and Jabs and Ice put the Shadow Fiend in the hole. They're going to buy back now on their Terrain Protector, and we're not done just yet. The rack still stands, and Ursa is still ready to defend his home. They don't have the Metamorphosis for too much longer. Black going to lose it now. They jump forward. They get the Hex. They've also got the Sunder. They got the Vision over the Ursa somehow. He does manage to pop his ultimate. Can they focus down Black? That's the big question. They don't have those support Force Stabs anymore. Ice is going to try and man up, but it's actually 10-10-10 for GeekFam, picking up the double kill with the Freezing Field. Jabs and XY will jump in and find the kill on Raji, but he also buys back. Buyback from the Timbersaw returning to this fight. They so desperately want this lane of racks. The Glyph is still ages away for GeekFam, but they're continuing to hold. They've got another Abyssal Blade in 7 seconds time. Crystal Maiden with those insane nukes going to look to spam out on the front lines, but the double Dagon finishes her off. It's only Raji and Psionics now against 4. They do have the starter BKBF cooldown. Both BKBs available, but the tier 4s have dropped. So Ancient is exposed, and they're just going to have to let Faceless start working on their melee barracks up here. Ice. Not really a right-clicking hero, but he's got the stats at this point of the game that he makes pretty quick work of that lane. And now what, GeekFam? Now what? Jump in. Look for Jabs. Managed to get off a really nice Face Shift. That's going to waste pretty much all of this duration for the Ursa, both his ultimate and his BKB. He's going to be forced to retreat, but he gets glimpsed right back in. They've got the Chain Hex. They've got the double Dagon. And that will be the GG called. Faceless, it wasn't looking good as they moved into the mid-game. It really seemed like GeekFam had the answers against the Terrorblade, but they switch their plan. They start split pushing with the Timber. They get the farm on the Puck. They get the farm on the Timber. They take it to the late game. Black was able to be a little bit more relevant once his team was able to keep him alive as well by force staffing him around and controlling the big problem heroes on the enemy team, the Shadow Fiend and the Underlord especially. And Faceless will take the win. I think a little bit more of a slightly more difficult win than people were expecting perhaps for this match, but a win all the same. So that's going to wrap it up here for Game 1 for this EPICENTER Moscow SEA Qualifier Best of 3. Hope you guys are enjoying the coverage, and I'll see you for Game